welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Stanley Cup Final preview. We're going for the big one, folks.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup Final.
You know, the games don't start until tomorrow, so it's not quite full hype mode. We still got some hype stuff coming your way. That's all I'm saying.
Do we? I don't even know what we've done and what we have wanted to still do.
So the highlight videos coming tonight.
Oh, sweet.
And then the hype videos coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
So plenty of hype left still to come.
I've been trying to write something for like 3 days, but like none of it has just like felt real at all. I'm just like, I don't even know what to say.
I haven't written our series preview. I don't know what to say, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of like, well, two juggernauts are about to exchange haymakers for the next 10 days or so.
Yeah, without jumping the gun completely.
Yeah.
Like, is this... I tweeted this out the other night, and one person thought I was talking about the NBA Finals, and quote tweeted me, like, are you kidding me? No one wanted that. I was like, well, yeah, maybe. But for the NHL...
nobody wants Boston to have any...
Well, that was what the person was saying. He's like, nobody wanted to see the Celtics. I was like, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but anyways...
Not what I was talking about.
Yeah. Going back to preseason, is this not... Like, if you could have asked... And obviously everyone's got like their fandom, right, for their teams. But like if you were to ask most hockey fans, what would be the best matchup you could see for the Stanley Cup Final? I think this would have been the one.
It would have been Colorado versus, and I think that list would have been
2 or 3 teams.
Tampa, Toronto, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a matchup I will never forget. I think it was the year that the Avs beat Calgary in the first round, and Pierre Maguire got a bunch of flack because he was doing the Tampa Bay Colorado game on NBCSN, and he said halfway through the game, I don't know, guys, seeing these teams up close, this may be a Stanley Cup Final preview. And so for like the last 3 years, this has been something that's kind of been building. I think Steven Stamkos today even said, we thought we would run into these guys at some point in the last 2 years. Like over our last couple runs, we thought we'd run into these guys. And it just feels like...
Strange that they were thinking about it.
Right. Like it's just... It's been building towards this series, in my opinion, for 2-3 years now. And kind of like, Colorado Vegas, where everyone just kind of kept waiting for it. And now we finally get it.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be... I'm so excited to talk about it because I think this is going to be such a fun series, such great hockey to watch. The way these two teams match up, I think, is just... We haven't seen anything like it in this playoffs. I think it's been a long, long, long time since we've seen a matchup like this where it's two juggernauts.
I would say probably the last time that we had a matchup anticipated like this was probably like Chicago-Tampa in 2015.
Yeah.
Maybe Pittsburgh-Detroit in like 2009.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The rematch, the back-to-back, yeah. Well, and then, I mean, like, seriously, at that point, you're talking 2008, 2009. You're not that far off from 2001, where it was Colorado, New Jersey. Yeah.
Those were the teams that year. That was wire to wire.
Right.
Those were the teams. That was the defending champ against the team that won the President's Trophy. So
yeah,
that one felt inevitable. This one, in a lot of ways, now that we're here, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like we all pick, we're picking individual series and making brackets and all this stuff, but it's like nobody's surprised that Tampa Bay is here.
Right.
Nobody's surprised that Colorado is here. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, Colorado, Tampa, yeah, makes perfect sense.
And Nate had a quote this morning saying that they thought of it and they're glad it's Tampa. They're happy it's Tampa. They said it's not any Cinderella story. Nothing's going to be cheap for whichever team ends up winning this. There's nothing cheap about this.
There's already because had it been the Rangers, there's already been some like, oh well, who has Colorado played?
Right.
Like it's so funny because they couldn't get out of the second round, and then who did they play in the first round every year? And now they get to a cup final, and you have people trying to take that away.
Right.
Like they didn't beat multiple 100-point teams.
Right.
To get here, and you're just like, okay.
Well, and they beat the team that everybody picked. Like, if there's any team that's going to beat the Avs, it's St. Louis. St. Louis has they play the style, they play the whatever. And like, look, that Game 5 got away from the Avs there late. Did anybody feel like that second round series was ever in jeopardy, in question.
Our chat certainly did that night. But we all felt pretty good.
But I mean, like, even I remember, my dad called me after Game 5, losing his mind. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go again. Second round, and you can see it. And I told him, I was like, I get
Relax.
it. I get it. I was like, but I promise, after 36 hours, the emotion is settled from everyone. They'll be fine. I remember walking into morning skate for Game 6. I was like, cool. Yeah, this is done.
Yeah.
Like, this is done.
It ended up being a dramatic game.
Game. But the fact that they were even able to bounce back in that moment showed you so much about the maturity that it wasn't squeezing the stick and when it was close late.
And, like, that was a team where you're talking about a team with some championship experience.
For sure.
Team that understood how to walk the walk. And they gave you a little bit of pushback. And I think that was an important... I think that's going to end up being an underrated part of this if Colorado gets through Tampa Bay. I think the St. Louis experience will be an underrated piece of it.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of it depends on how this series ends up, but I look forward to going back and kind of reflecting on all this.
I do want to get into all the nitty-gritty of it, but first, it was media day today for both Tampa and Colorado going into the Cup Finals. Jesse, you were there.
Yep.
Talking to everyone. You said it was quite a workload for some of those guys.
Yeah. Gabe Landeskog, I seriously did. I think he did right at about an hour's worth of nonstop interviewing. Couple of them.
If you've ever tried to interview somebody, you'll know how crazy that is.
Yeah. And a couple of them on live TV. So it wasn't even like there's just a bunch of people with phones and microphones and recorders. Like, no, you're live on the air. You've got to be on. You've got to be sharp. The Avs media day, and I'm assuming it's because there was more local media here. There was probably twice the amount of people for Avs than there was for Lightning.
Not bad for a bland team that doesn't offer very much.
Not bad, right? And
like that dude was here.
He was. Yep. Wyshynski was here. I mean, all of them, dude. I mean, like Elliot Friedman, Frank Saravelli, Pierre LeBrun. I mean, like, Darren Dreger, like the big guns are here. And it was really, today was the first moment for me where it was like whoa, the Avalanche are playing in the Stanley Cup final like tomorrow. I've had a really hard time like getting it to feel real, but
it'll help when the game starts.
Yeah.
We're back in that rhythm and we're like, all right, it's just hockey.
Yeah. And, the NHL, so this is now an NHL event. It's no longer run by the teams locally in their local PR. So, like, I've been in Ball Arena for 41 games this year, and I walked in, and it is a completely different process. Yeah. They've moved the media room, the old media room. Like, we're not allowed in anymore. That's a completely different dedicated workspace. And it felt very grand. It felt very big stage today. Just being there for all that.
The sport has to offer.
Yeah. And it felt like it today. And I asked Logan O'Connor, I was able to kind of like wait for his media scrum to settle down. And I was able to go up and ask him, I said, have you had a chance? And I was asking him for him personally, like, you come in undrafted and just like, go with the Eagles and see what happens. And now you're like,
I thought he was going to be in the ECHL.
Yeah. I mean, like, and that's how he came in. And now you're not pulling him off that fourth line for anybody, given the way he's played in this postseason. He's a staple part of a team that's in the Stanley Cup final. I said, has it sunk into you? You're sitting here at Stanley Cup final media day. And he goes, honestly, I think for all of us, he said, I think having the couple days off and the chance to kind of be at home and rest and recharge gave us that opportunity to like let it sink in and let it kind of sit. He's like, I think had we had to jump right in, maybe the nerves and the jitters and the moment may have thrown us off a bit. But like, he's like, we've been able to be excited about it, accept it, let it sink in, and now we just get to work. And so it's really interesting just talking to fans around, on Twitter, the four of us talking to other media members and now the players. Seems like everyone's kind of gone through the same. Yeah. Can't believe this is happening. Just enjoying the moment. Whoa, this is real, and now they're ready to play the games. And I'm excited, man. The city seems ready. They're getting everything set up across the street. We're going to be, I mean, if we don't have people like spilling out into the street, I'd be shocked. It's just everyone is ready for it, and being there today made it feel a little bit extra real. And you can tell the Avs are chomping at the bit to get on the ice tomorrow.
Yeah, and I guess we should probably talk about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, now we.
I guess we should get into the actual preview. Before we do, I do just want to shout out a couple of people, Keith and Caitlin, who were here for the conference finals that I promised I would shout out like 2 weeks ago, and I keep forgetting. So I remembered. They're one of our peoples. Both of them are our peoples.
Shout out.
On a sort of side note, we're not the people to ask for where to stay hotels wise.
Absolutely not.
Denver?
Yeah.
Ooh, I am. Yeah, hit me up.
Great. Hit him
That's
up.
Jesse's thing.
Stop DMing me. I don't know. I can't help you get tickets. I don't know how to get cheap tickets.
The tickets one is something I've been asked a lot.
I've been asked about
I
tickets.
haven't bought a ticket in 8 years. I don't know. I don't know where to stay. I live here. I don't have to stay in hotels.
Yep.
I'm just a bad resource for this. I'm sorry. I love you guys. I cannot help you with these things.
Hotels downtown, I can help you out. If you're wanting to be like close to the arena, I can help you out. Yeah, the tickets and all that stuff. I feel bad because like a ton of people have reached out to me like, hey, can you buy? I'm like, no, I have.
I asked my friend who works in the ticket department. It's pretty grim. It just sounds like it's up to resellers at this point, even though there are tickets that are going to become available for purchase.
Yep.
I don't think there's really any left. And so it's up to the resellers now, and it sounds like the prices are really high.
So before we get into the game, I want to detour on this really fast.
We're about to
This
go.
better be a fast detour.
Sorry.
I mean, we're talking about the cup final.
You have 45 seconds to go hard on Ticketmaster, and then we get out
Hell
of
yeah.
here.
Well, no. So it's just when the Avs moved on and a bunch of those tickets started becoming available through resellers.
Yep.
And everyone was talking about how expensive they were. And I was like, yeah, but that's always what happens. People try to take advantage of folks getting in on it early.
A guy listing a ticket for $10,000
Right.
doesn't mean he's selling a ticket for
Right. And so that was kind of my assumption. The average ticket for a price at Ball Arena for games 1 and 2 has actually gone up since the Avs first punched their ticket to the final. I've been unbelievably surprised, and I've heard people like crazy spending the money, buying the tickets, and for the ones that come available, while I didn't look at the email super closely the last time the Avs were in the final, the limited release tickets were typically standing room only, and they were typically done through some type of lottery. So yeah, like you said, it sounds pretty grim if you're trying to buy them directly through the team. I know they will be having some available. I'm assuming it's going to be through some type of lottery process, but crazy. I mean, shout out to Avs fans. I mean, they're paying the price to show up. Denver's a great sports town. If you've got a reason to celebrate, Denver shows up, and looks like they're doing it so far. That was over 45 seconds.
A little bit over. Yeah.
We have no concept of 45 seconds.
Yeah, I was going to say 45 seconds, 45 minutes.
It's basically the same.
Same.
Yeah, no difference. Look, we can start with the Avs path into the Cup Finals here. The one everyone is saying is soft. And you know what?
How do we feel about it?
I think there's an argument that there weren't a ton of tough teams on that road, but they also went 12-2.
So here's my thing. You ask how do we feel about the road?
Mm-hmm.
Every one of these rounds, if you listen to media, national media, Canadian media, every single one of them with, the Avs are a great team, but the Predators are going to give them all they can handle. What? They made pretty quick work of the Predators, but the Blues
But there was no UC Soros,
are going to give these guys
free pass.
all they can handle. Then they were up 3-1 against the Blues, eventually eliminated them. It's like, they got
there was no Jordan Binnington,
Right,
so
and-
it was like the Avs just got a free pass.
And they haven't had to play anyone like Connor McDavid, and they're going to give they are going to give the Avs all they can handle. It's a sweep, and now
now Mike Smith sucks.
Right,
And Leon
right.
Draisaitl and Darnell Nurse were hurt, and so they never even stood a chance.
And it was just funny to me how the narrative shifted just from one series to the next.
That was an effective bit.
Yeah.
It
Well, I mean, that was a lot of podcasts, and I'm not I'm not trying to bash anybody. Like, the point of this is everyone is saying that they haven't had a hard road now, but before every single series, I can't even tell you how many podcasts I listened to or radio shows that sounded just like that.
Yeah.
where it's, oh, well, these are the caveats as to why they made such quick
Nashville
work.
plays a really physical style,
Right.
and the Avs can't handle that.
And the Avs can't handle the physicality. If they can get the
How quaint
physicality
does
going.
that feel now?
Right. Right.
The part of it that I don't understand why people are still saying, "Oh yeah, well the Avs didn't face anyone tough." Even if you believe that, they crush all three teams they faced.
Right,
what more could they have done
if
against
they
the
didn't
teams
face
that they
anybody
faced?
good, didn't they treat those teams appropriately
Right,
by going
right, right.
12-2?
Right.
I don't know what the Avs could have really. I guess they could have swept St. Louis.
They
like
could
that's
have-
your
they
own.
They could have closed out Game 5.
Yeah,
They could have
sure.
not blown Game 5, and they didn't need overtime in any of those any of the series.
You know, I'm not going to go. We'll wait till the offseason for me to go down that specific road.
That's it. That's the only things that you could have asked for better, right?
Right. Well, and that's, and it's just been interesting to me because I actually thought that a lot of people were correct going into some of those series. They're like, the way that Nashville was playing near the end of the year, yeah, that was a good team. I don't think UC Saros even makes one game of difference, in my opinion.
He might.
Maybe.
And that's the best you can give him.
Right. And so maybe that one's 4-1 other than 4-0. But I honestly thought a lot of people were right. Each of those teams presented their own challenges.
Yeah, those were quality teams. I mean, St. Louis and Edmonton were 100-point teams.
Right.
Same as what Tampa Bay had to face. Now, I think Toronto and Florida were better.
Sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But I don't think the Rangers were very good outside of having an elite goaltender. Like Igor Shesterkin just papered over everything.
Yep. He did it all year, and he did it throughout the playoffs. And so, again, the point...
Genuinely, I just don't know that it matters much. The path was the path.
Yeah.
They got the teams that were in front of them, and they smoked them.
Mm-hmm.
Just for clarity's sake, if you bring up Tampa's side here, they did have the one sweep against Florida, but they ended up going 12-5.
Yeah,
on their
and
way.
the sweep against Florida, like they get outshot in three of the 4 games. Those games were closer. Like I think there was like a 5-1 game in there in game 2 that was not particularly competitive, but like go back and watch that game 4
where they're getting dominated.
right. Like they get the goal, they win.
They get the goal 3 times.
But
Yeah.
that was a series that, it's 4-0, but it was competitive. In the same way that Colorado Edmonton had a couple of closer games.
Sure.
It was a competitive 4-0, but it was 4-0.
Right. And again, I want to make sure, like, this isn't me saying, like, oh, they're so disrespected by the...
It's not that at all.
It is just...
People pick the Avs in every series.
Right. Yeah, I'll say all of those same shows that we referenced were all, this team's going to give them all they can handle, but I think the Avs end up winning.
Yep.
It's just been fun to me because the Avs made such quick work of 2 of those teams. And,
we weren't giving the Avs the kind of credit that they ended up deserving.
Right.
Like, when none of us picked them to go
sweep.
12-2.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just interesting because it feels like there's been people... We've watched this team up close all year, right? Mm-hmm. It's part of the reason why we were just saying, well, the 4 of us weren't too worried after Game 5. We Megan, we've been at those morning skates. We've been there. Like, we see, AJ, you and I were there. I was actually just going back through and watching all the morning skate updates, and that first one we did. I have a hilarious screenshot from the Game 1. But, like, we've seen the way that these guys have gone about their business. We've seen the way these guys have played. Rudo, you've done breakdowns for all 82 games. Like, we understand who this team is. And I just think that you're getting a lot of people who the Avs are, like, forcing themselves on the national media. Like, you're going to pay attention to us now because we're going to mop up these teams on the way to the Cup final.
You're
going to give us credit.
Stop talking about past failures.
Yeah.
You're going to stop talking about all the reasons that we can't do this or we won't do this. You're going to start talking about what we did.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where they are right now is, look, they are 12-2 to get here. There have been a handful of teams that have been that good since the playoffs expanded to best of 7 in every round. But, I mean, you're talking about coming off a 119-point season. If they win the Cup, they will go no worse than 12-5.
If
or
they
16-5.
If they lose the Cup, the worst they can do is 6 losses on the postseason,
and the rest of it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm talking like if they win it, the worst that they are is 16-5. That's the worst possible record. And after a 119-point season, you start talking about this as a top 5 all-time season.
Right.
given all the pieces that they put together. And then, boy, do you really lament the way that they didn't care about the last 2 weeks of the regular season.
Yeah.
So, but no, I just think like that's the kind of history that they're staring down, and that they have to kind of settle up with, right? Like that's what they've put themselves in position to accomplish that, and that's great. This is no longer theoretical. This is no longer, oh well, this could be. They're right there. The series starts tomorrow.
Yeah. Megan, I want to ask you, because you spent a lot of time around the Eagles this year. Part of, to me, what makes this Tampa Bay group so impressive, you just mentioned probably the last finals matchup that was this anticipated was 2015, and it was the Bolts versus the Blackhawks. Part of the reason why they've been so successful for so long, they're homegrown. Like their core 7-8 guys are drafted, developed internally. The Avs aren't quite there, but like when you start looking at it, Rantanen, McKinnon, Landeskog, Makar, Byram, like these are all guys. Francouz comes from inside the organization. LOC,
JT
New Hook
Compher may not have been drafted by the Avs,
but he played for the Eagles.
They traded for him 10 minutes after.
Yeah.
His entire pro career has been in Colorado. Like he's an Avs product.
Right. And he played games for the Eagles. Is part of the reason why, like, is this what you have to do in your opinion? Like being around the Eagles and see the way that they function closely with the Avs, is that part of the reason why they're finding so much success in the depth? Is that it's the same thing whether you're playing for the Eagles or playing for the Avs?
I think, too, these organizations work so closely alongside each other to make sure that they're on the same page and developing players that will fit the Avalanche system specifically. Yeah. That's something that we've talked about with Maltsev. When I'm talking to Cronin, he talks about how he prepares players specifically to play within the Avs system. And I think something that's really important, too, is having the Eagles in Loveland and being able to just drive down the road and have a Black Ace come to practice morning of as needed, like Jacob McDonald wasn't originally on the Black Aces, but he can come down in 45 minutes notice and practice and fill in for Josh Manson, who's having a maintenance day. And I think even those little things are going to make such a difference in what the Avs are able to do in developing, and just having someone like Manson then take a maintenance day because they have the AHL team right up the road.
Right.
I think both of these things, the little details like that, and then the longer term, bigger picture, because we're looking at someone like Foodie hopefully coming through the ranks one day. And
Foodie and Sampo and maybe
top
even
defenseman Jean-Luc Foodie.
Yeah, like there's a
I don't know the origin of that joke, but I'm running with it now.
But it's happening.
But it's real. And just looking at how early the Eagles are in the stages of being an AHL team and making a name for themselves and the growth that they've had team-wide, I think that's something that's going to become incredibly important over the next couple of years.
I think it shows, too, that success is not just organizationally wide, but it's all the way down, right? And yeah, look,
Grizzlies.
Eagles and Grizzlies didn't win their stuff, but they both made their conference finals. Yeah. They're both successful teams in their leagues. It's not just the Avs. It's I don't know if you call it a trickle-down effect or whatever, but it's good organizational work top to bottom right now.
And you give him a huge amount of credit. Again, I don't want to go like way too overboard Logan O'Connor here, but like that's a kid who was playing locally, went undrafted, and you plucked him out because he was playing down the road. Like that's just great organizational awareness. That's someone they identified as, this guy does the things that we want our players to do, and he acts the way we want our players to act.
When you talk about, like, the general you.
Right.
You look at where Colorado's success and failures at the draft have been. First round, good. Every other round, bad.
Right.
But you make up for that when you get a JT Compher in a deal, and you get a player out of him. You make up for that when you get a Logan O'Connor undrafted free agent. You find holes there. You get an Alex Kerfoot, and you move him for a Nazem Kadri. You turn assets into things. Like you make smart decisions. You use draft picks and say, hey, we're going to use draft picks, purely draft picks, and I guess Scott Kosmachuk to turn them into Andre Burakovsky and Devon Taves. Like it's just really smart decisions all the way down the organization, where it's not perfect, of course,
It's important to know your weaknesses and how to get around them.
But it's are you getting players from these areas? And would you love to, like, the people that harp on, well, they haven't gotten a homegrown goaltender. Yeah, it's a problem. They had the 5th best goaltender this year in the NHL,
right?
Regardless of that,
they also went out and found Pavel Francouz.
Right,
So.
They have gone out and they've
won
been
4 games in the Western Conference Final.
They've been able to plug those holes with effective players, smart decision making, and I think it's a testament to, we're talking organizationally. Look, the organization that we've compared them the most to over a number of years.
You're here.
Everybody that wants to grow up and be a Stanley Cup champion someday says, I want to be the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Right. I was going to say, my favorite part of this conversation that we've been having since you started talking about the Eagles was, if you just tuned into this, you wouldn't know which of these two teams we're talking about.
True.
And
because you do go down Tampa Bay's roster. You look at Kucherov, Stamkos, Killorn, Point,
Vasilevsky,
Hedman.
You go all the way down to the Cal Foots, more fringe players, but still.
Right.
I mean, then you look at their defense and you're like, okay, well, they built that externally. You know, Chernak and McDonough and Sergachev are all guys that they did not draft. But they did a great job figuring it out. But, I mean, so many homegrown guys on that team.
Yep.
Right. Well, and like you said, they found a way to plug the holes that they needed to plug effectively. And the other thing that they've done
Ross Colton, they pull a Ross Colton out of their ass every other year.
Right. Well, and
it's tremendous organizational development.
It's honestly kind of what reminds me of, and I'm not, you know, you look at just some of the waiver wire stuff the Avs have done over the last few years. Abe Kubel, you know, it was Matt Calvert.
He was a free agent.
Yeah, that's right. Either way, they've pulled in some of these fringe guys.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Nieto, Nicholas Abe-Kubel, and Patrick Nemeth were all guys. Mark Barberio.
Nieto was the other one I couldn't think of.
All guys that they pulled off waivers and became regulars.
Right. Like effective regulars.
Regulars for them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Patrick Nemeth has now come to Colorado, left. They get him on waivers, leaves, gets a multi-year deal, comes back, leaves again and gets another multi-year deal.
Yeah.
Like, there was clearly a value there for some of these guys. Like, they did a great job. They did a great job with the scouting.
Well, it's not only the scouting, but then it's, again, kind of like what Megan was talking about with Cronin, where it's like, I'm trying to get players ready to play in that system. They've identified guys who fit within what they like to do, and that's what both these teams have done so well, and that's why I think this is such an exciting matchup.
When you get the previous years, they trade Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow. They fill those holes. This year it's Brandon Hagel. So what does Colorado do? It's Arturi Lehkonen.
Right.
Not Claude Giroux, but Arturi Lehkonen. Mm-hmm. And you look at how Lehkonen has fit in and been just the perfect chess piece for them, especially in wake of injury.
Yep.
It's gone exceptionally well. It's great. Both teams do such a great job identifying, this is who we are, this is what we need, this is the guy that's going to be able to fit into our personality, our identity, our DNA. It all matches. We're going to go get this guy.
The rehabilitation of Nichushkin and what he's become for the Avalanche just within a single season.
That was super duper lucky.
Super duper.
I do want to bring this back into the actual series as we've kind of gone into the depths of these teams. A couple of different storylines going in, and specifically in these playoffs. Obviously, Tampa with 11 straight series wins, but they did lose their never lost 2 in a row against the Rangers in the conference finals. And on the Avs side, still undefeated on the road in these playoffs. Is that a big deal, or are we throwing everything out? It's the Cup Finals. Nothing before matters.
I really like your path to get there is more about the war of attrition and how, like, you look at the war of attrition versus the Rangers, and I think at the end of that series, the Rangers were tired.
For sure.
And that's because they look at how many games they had to play.
Yeah.
That was game, 20 for them?
Yeah.
And
I think it was 20
finals.
games in 40 days of the postseason. You look at the Avs are 12-2. The Lightning are 12-5.
Yep.
So it's not like there's a lot of wear and tear. It's just the 2 big injuries for each team. It's Braden Point. It's Nazem Kadri. the lineup construction and all that, but we haven't even really gotten into the nuts and bolts of all this yet.
Which we will.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible the way that they match up one-on-one going down the lineup.
Yep.
It's gonna be fun. We are brought to you by Sexy Pizza. You can go get yourself some right now at sexy.pizza, www.sexy.pizza. They have a bunch of amazing options, including their philanthropies, which some of the proceeds go towards local businesses and programs that really help people out. So
Clever name.
yeah, it is a good name. I do like the philanthropy name. You can check them out. I'm not sure if we'll have a deal or not for the Cup Finals. We might.
That's a Parker question.
Yeah, he said he was working on something, but I don't know the official outcome yet. So either way, check out Sexy Pizza. They're amazing. Highly recommend you go get their pizzas, whether it's their crazy jalapeno cream cheese nonsense or just a straight up pepperoni pizza. Either way, absolutely delicious. So yeah, get that. And then head on over to DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up over there. There's still time. You can still bet $5 with a new account on the NBA Finals and get $150 in free bets, which you can then bet on the Cup Finals or anything else you can imagine under the sun, for that matter.
Better hurry.
So better.
Better
Yeah, that NBA Finals isn't going to be going on for much longer.
What is that series at? 3-1? 3-2?
3-2.
Last night was fun. It was a fun game.
That Finals
buzzer beater?
is absolutely
cool.
Team Meteor, though.
Oh, I like Golden State.
I know
like
you do.
it sucks that they beat the Nuggets and all, but I like Golden State. They're fun. Steph Curry's just like, why are you so likable?
Yeah.
Anyway, go over to DraftKings, use the DNVR code, get the $150 in free bets. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, we've kind of beat around the bush. Let's get into some of the roster construction of both of these teams. Let's bring up the Avs' top scorers to start, and we'll work our way down. Obviously, Cale Makar is... Wow. I said this on TDSP the other day. I think there's an argument that this playoffs, Cale Makar is ascending to the best player in the world.
It was written in one of my post games.
So we're in agreement then.
I mean, look. He absolutely locked up the best player in the world. How does that not make him?
They traded punches, and I think that's
2 of the games.
I think that that's the testament is that through the series, you look and you're like, they traded punches.
I would say for 2 games they traded punches, and for 2 games, Cale Makar.
Yeah, well, the defensive like Connor McDavid scores 30 seconds into Game 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then is irrelevant
and then
for the
there
rest
were
of the
59
game.
minutes and 30 seconds after that
Right.
that took place where you're like,
Right.
where'd you go, big fella?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
He was good in games 1 and 4.
And this is the thing with Connor McDavid. You don't, keep him down.
Right.
You just limit it.
You survive him.
Yeah.
You survive him. You survive Draisaitl. What Edmonton didn't survive was Cale Makar.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, that's... I was talking about it this morning. I don't remember with who. Last round, it was a lot about McKinnon versus McDavid. For me, it's Makar versus Hedman in this series. And not even necessarily, their head-to-head, in particular.
Sure.
But more of just, in my opinion, these are 1 and 2. And then there's quite a bit of space, and then it's Adam Fox, Miro Heiskanen, that tier, and then it's everybody else.
So I was going to plug this at the end of our show today, but I went on the PDO cast with Dmitry Filipovich, and he asked me final thought on the series, and that was it.
Oh, really?
That was it. It was, I'm excited to see Makar versus Hedman as he tries to completely
Cement
take over
himself.
because there are still going to be the people out there. Well, Hedman's been the Conn Smythe winner. He's the champ.
Yeah.
He's the two-way guy. He's still the man that a lot of the old school
As he
people will
should be.
look to.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Like you can make this argument. I made this argument in November. So
Right.
watching those two, and watch this one tries to kind of take the proverbial I'm now that guy.
Right.
From the other one, it's one of the things I'm excited for.
Do you think someone at the NHL head office is staring at the Norris Trophy votes right now and sees Roman Yossi's name at the top and is like, "Oh God, oh God"?
This is why they're releasing the results in the middle of the second period of Game 3, so that it gets buried, and they're like, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about this at all.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be Yossi?
I think it is.
I think this is going to be another Calder.
I don't know who
Situation.
wins it. I don't think it ends up being that.
Well, no.
I think there are a lot of people that really did vote.
Oh
for
no!
Roman
No!
Yossi,
That I agree with. But what I mean, I don't think it's going to be that wide of a gap because everyone thought it was going to be this like razor thin margin between Makar and Hughes for the Calder, and it was not. But I do think it's going to be one of those things where I think there's a lot of people who thought we were going to vote Yossi, and then once they like got the ballot in front of them, they're like, yeah.
Can't do it.
Nah, it's still Makar. That's obviously a conversation for another time, but you
Yeah,
are probably right.
For next week when they reveal
Well, dude,
that.
there's a lot of voters sitting there, like knowing that the lists are going to come out. Just
I think they've been like that for a month and a half
That's what I'm
because
saying,
they
yeah.
watched Makar versus Yossi in round 1 and went, "Oh God,
yeah, oops, oopsie
Yeah.
poopsie.
The Arrested Development. I've made a huge mistake."
Yeah.
So
All this just to say, Kale McCarr is super dope still.
getting into the rest of the Avs top scorers, Megan, obviously you've seen what you've wanted to see out of Nathan McKinnon. Gabe Landeskog has shown up huge on a who knows how healthy his knee really is, how recovered he is there.
Best case, right?
Yeah, it's been as good as you can imagine. And then
We're missing a parenthesis.
you've been banging the drum for the Avs can get more out of Mikko Rantanen in this series.
Yeah. I mean, even still, I was looking actually like side by side, Tampa Bay, top 6, bottom 6, Avs, top 6, bottom 6. The Avs top 6 forward group actually is doing kind of what I expected them to. Even the fourth line, it's the third line specifically for the Avs that actually give me more pause. I still want to see more from Mikko Rantanen, but actually looking at Mikko and even Val Nichushkin through the last 10 games, they've produced especially like secondary assists more than I expected them to.
Sure.
So I take a little bit of that back, but I'd still, especially for the purposes of this series, like to see more from Mikko because I think it's going to be everybody needs to infuse more offense into their game. Yeah. Full stop.
He's got to be the answer for Braden Point, right? Stamkos, McKinnon. It has to be Rantanen, Point.
Rantanen, Kucherov.
Kucherov. I mean, you know,
That's a tough.
Big ask.
and so
But it's time. It's a big ask, but he makes the money where you're asking big of him all the time.
Well, like,
it's
look,
the final.
right.
You need
how many?
You need Moose Rantanen to show up. You need the Moose.
How many times have you compared the way Mikko Rantanen has played this year to the way Nikita Kucherov plays?
Yeah.
Now it's time for Mikko to separate from that dude, right?
Yeah.
Well, not even separate, but you have to match it.
Yeah. You
It's-
can't be clearly Nikita Kucherov, Mikko
Right.
Rantanen.
It's kind of like what we were just talking about with McDavid. Tampa has enough elite players that like they are going to get there. It's like they're going to make plays. They're going to make very nice plays. They're going to make highlight reel, show-stopping, whatever. You got to limit that though. Or for everyone you give up, you've got to match it, and that's where again, Stamkos, McKinnon, Kucherov, Rantanen, however you want to pair it off. Landeskog, Point, Hedman, Makar. Devon Taves, I think, could be a bit of an X factor here. I don't want to jump ahead.
No.
Go
Go ahead. I don't want to.
But like that's someone who I don't know. Maybe it's McDonough. Maybe that's Taves's kind of direct correlation. The depth, I still think the Avs have better depth, but like you've got great depth on the Tampa Bay side as well. Guys who have been there. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare was doing his availability today. The other crazy storyline of this is one of two things is going to happen. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to win 3 Stanley Cups in a row, or Corey Perry is going to lose 3 Stanley Cup finals in a row.
Or, I mean, if Tampa Bay wins it, Pat Maroon wins his 4th straight.
Right. Yeah, so it's just like...
really, really hoping to disappoint his mom.
Yeah.
There's
Sorry,
like a
Mama Maroon.
lot of those weird things too that I saw the other day. This is the 3rd time in the last 4 years the team that beat Toronto has gone to the Cup Finals.
I saw that one, too.
The other 2 lost.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would be the
Saw
3rd
that.
straight of that.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, of course, has never lost a Cup Finals as a team that's gone to 2.
Yep.
Tampa Bay's only lost the 1, right?
Correct.
Just the 1 to Chicago.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah,
How
there's
crazy is it that those were the triplets?
Yep.
It was before we knew what Kucherov was going to be. It was Kucherov, it was Tyler Johnson, and it was Andre Palat. And now Andre Palat's, this is his last go round with the Lightning. He's a free agent. Can't really afford to bring him back.
Kaijo's been long gone.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson's about to get bought out by Chicago. And Kucherov has ascended to Hall of Fame caliber career.
Yep.
While those other guys are in your those guys were really, really good.
and Andre Palat's had a nice.
Oh, he's been huge for them.
Yeah,
and
he's had a
we
really
haven't
nice
really gotten
career.
into it yet, but
we will.
Like Andre Palat has reminded everybody he's really, really good.
And we can work it from the top down from the Tampa side too, just to show you guys where it comes from. And it was funny. Through the first round, everyone was kind of going, Kucherov hasn't been that good.
I heard he had the
He
flu.
wasn't.
I heard he had the flu.
Well, whatever it was, he got over it.
Yeah, yeah.
So while we're here, I'll just I mentioned this on the PDO cast. I haven't talked about this publicly. So this is the word on the street with what's going on with Mikko.
Sure.
Is that at the end of the year when he got sick, that flu that he got, he
Stuck with him.
was rumored to have lost as much as 20 pounds.
Wow.
Just because he was so sick and he couldn't keep fluids down. I don't know how accurate that is, which is why we haven't reported it, but that's kind of the scuttlebutt, is that he certainly lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And that's why, and when you're playing every other day,
There's
you don't
no
have
way to
time
put
to
it
get
back
into the
on,
gym and
yeah.
to build that back up and to get back into that. And that's a big reason why I think early playoff Mikko was struggling the way that he was, because he was playing way below the weight that he's accustomed to playing. And it's had a great impact on him. And we saw a much better version of him in the last round, and I think he's either adjusting to playing at this weight or he's starting to get some of it back.
It's funny you say that, because I remember us all talking about that, because he missed a lot of games and a lot of skate.
It was not, he's sick, so
Right.
normally these guys get sick and they're out
They
for
miss
3
a game
days
or 2. Yeah.
And
That's 3 days. Like
3 days.
Maybe a game day and a couple practices.
And
yeah.
instead, I remember I'm in Winnipeg and I'm talking to them and I'm like, what's going on with Mikko? And they're like, he went home, dude. He's really sick.
Really sick.
Like, he can't keep anything down. The fluid's just in and out of him.
Well, and then he talked once he finally came back, and he still sounded a little sick. And someone asked him, like, when did you start? How long have you been up and around? Did you start feeling? He goes, I felt good to go get up and like walk around yesterday. And like that, like it was his first day back on the ice, and he went real light. And I was honestly even impressed that he spoke. But yeah, he was like, yesterday was the first day I felt like I could get up and move around, and today was the first day where I felt like I could go out and get on my skate. Like, he even made it sound, and I think Bednar mentioned something too. You may have even been at the one where Bednar talked about it, where he was just like, yeah, that dude was pretty sick. I didn't realize, I didn't know it was to that extent, but
That makes sense.
yeah. I mean, that adds up.
Yeah.
When you see a player of that caliber,
Yeah, dude. We knew something was up. It
Right.
wasn't just like...
well, and that was the same Kucherov thing. When someone,
Yeah.
it was one of the national guys last round who had, I think, covered the Toronto-Tampa series. He's like, no, that dude was sick as a dog and played all those games. And I was like, oh. That's why it looked like he was just standing upright for a lot of plays.
Well, and like he's throwing pucks into nowhere. He was just standing along the wall, not doing a lot. And you're like, well, all right, this makes sense.
Yeah.
All of this just reinforces Michael Jordan's flu game was really that awesome. Flu game, food poisoning, whatever the truth is, it was awesome.
I always think about Landy's rookie year against the Ducks, the OT winner, where he had
Just
the flu.
falls on his face after he scores it.
Where landeskoging became a thing for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wish I had can you pull the screenshot of the picture on their faces when I brought that up? The disgust and just the jubilation. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. AJ's like, oh my fucking god, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I'm glad landeskoging did not stick.
so let's circle it back into the
Too much of a
lineups.
mouthful.
Bring it back to the lineups here, and you guys kind of already started digging into it and mentioning how 1-to-1 these teams do match up. We're going to skip over the Point and Kadri matchup for a second. We'll get to it later.
Yeah.
But even going down into their depth, you're talking about, and the way they get their jobs done is a little different, but Nick Paul playing on Tampa's second line against an Arturi Lehkonen. you have going down into a Ross Colton against like a JT
That
Compher.
won't continue.
I know when Point comes
Within-
back, it'll
yeah.
be back to third line, but someone from the Avs second line is going to have to drop to the third if Kadri comes back. So it really does all the way down on the forward side. You can look at these teams and go, "Yep, this is math."
It was really interesting, John Cooper going with putting Stamkos back in the middle, because for the last couple of years he's been on the wing with Point.
Yep.
And then they had Yanni Gord, and then they had Anthony Cirelli.
Sure.
Obviously, they lose Gord to Seattle.
Yep.
And so this year it's been a little bit different, but with no Point, Stamkos moves to the middle, and then it's been
A
Alex
couple
Killorn.
guys getting in that spot, yeah.
It's been Alex Killorn and Anthony Cirelli on their second line.
Yep.
And they've been a dedicated, nobody scores. Nobody does anything, because at 5v5, Anthony Cirelli, 6 goals. That's it. And he's been outscored 4-2.
Yeah.
But 6 goals.
Nothing is happening.
He is just, they have geared it all the way down with Anthony Cirelli and Alex Killorn on the ice. Nobody is scoring a 5v5 when those guys are out there. And I think Braden Point, today skated on the second line.
He was skating with the third line today.
Was it
In place
the
of
third
Perry.
line? Okay,
Might be
so
linked up.
But
where he ends
Cooper
up,
said that he.
we'll see. But
I'm going to interrupt you really fast just
Yeah.
to add. So he skated with the third line. So someone asked him, excuse me, if he's back in tomorrow, should we expect him to be kind of limited, playing sheltered minutes? And John Cooper said, if he's in the lineup, he'll be on the ice. He won't be taking shifts off. So skated with the third line today, but I'd be willing to bet that if he's in.
We'll see what they actually do in a game. I'm not taking. If you pay any attention to this stuff at all, you'll know that where these guys skate during a practice the day before isn't super
mostly
duper
irrelevant.
meaningful.
Yeah.
I think it's just because Perry took a maintenance day.
So we'll
Well,
see.
yeah, good, yeah.
Like we'll
Great call.
see where these guys actually end up, but the usage of Cirelli is what I'm most curious about, because we've seen Nathan McKinnon handled Ryan O'Reilly just fine.
Yep.
Who's like, he's your Selke guy, he's this and he's that. The big difference between Ryan O'Reilly and Anthony Cirelli here is that Anthony Cirelli can skate with Nathan McKinnon. And if John Cooper wants, Jared Bednar likes to go best on best. I have full confidence that in Denver, he's going to try and go McKinnon versus Stamkos.
Mm-hmm.
McKinnon, Landeskog, Nichushkin against
Bednar's always gone that way. with it,
against Kucherov, Stamkos, Palat. That's going to be how they want to go. But it's what do you do what does John Cooper want on the road?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be curious to see how Cirelli's usage, because I think Braden Point's health, Nazem Kadri's health, these are all really important. But Cirelli's ability to completely gear it down and just turn the ice into this giant black hole, the event black hole, where nothing happens, nothing gets scored, it's all good.
I see your comments.
It's going to be a really interesting chess piece, because Colorado does not have that answer on the other side with an Anthony Cirelli. They don't have a traditional shutdown third guy. Like JT Compher is not that guy. He's never proven to be that guy. The Avs try and use him that way. It does not. It's never really gone that well. JT Compher's like a fine NHL player, but that center depth certainly. Cirelli either at 2C or 3C. That's a really important piece.
We see your comments. If you put enough comments in to fill up half the chat, it's a good way to get yourself ignored.
7 comments in a row is usually my eyes just kind of and of course that relies on other people to say other things too. It's not entirely that guy's fault.
Those comments came in pretty rapid fire.
I didn't notice I was watching. I was looking at you guys, and I see you guys watching that, and I'm just like, okay.
No,
Let's talk to Megan.
It is going to be interesting because again, you're talking about Cirelli, and I just don't feel like this Avs team, from what we've seen in these first 3 rounds, every team has had this is the line they're going to stick on. Nathan McKinnon. And I just think the Avs defense is part of what makes that so difficult to just say, we're going to lock down this line. We're going to shut down Nathan McKinnon.
Good luck when they have a second line that's called their whole defense.
Right. And it's just, I don't know when the video is coming out. Is that the highlight video you were talking about? My video?
No.
Oh, okay. So we have even another video coming out either tonight or tomorrow where I'm just kind of talking about some of the small little things the Avs have done throughout the playoffs. And literally the first thing is Josh Manson and Devon Taves on separate plays. And actually Eric Johnson does it as well to set up the Darren Helm goal. Just the way they come through the middle of the ice. It's not always Cale Makar and, when Sam Girardo's in the lineup, your kind of traditional guys. The defense just pushes the pace so much. They kind of take the place of forwards on certain rushes, and suddenly you realize Nathan McKinnon has 20 feet of space kind of behind the play to walk in and make they play in such a way, and their defense is so dynamic that it just makes it hard to get those traditional lockdown matchups. And I think Edmonton ran into trouble with that. I think St. Louis ran into trouble with that. And Nashville very clearly ran into trouble with that.
I mean, Nashville just didn't.
Right.
It's not just the defensemen, it's the style that they play in. I think you're right. But I did want to ask a couple things here. One, do we all agree number one defenseman is Makar in this series, number two is Hedman?
We agree.
Yes,
honestly, to me, and even going into this series, it's still Tampa, it's still Hedman until it's not. And the amazing part is the Avs have an opportunity to make it not.
I honestly, it can be Hedman first if you want.
Yeah.
They're 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally.
No, you're good. You're good. That's what we keep you here for.
I totally misunderstood what you said. Sorry.
Number 3.
Are you talking about in this series?
In this series. Is it Taves?
Oh, yeah.
Is it? I think people on the other side would probably make an argument that it could be McDonough.
It should be.
You think McDonough over Taves?
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, McDonough is the next Tampa guy in line.
No.
McDonough over Taves, no, because Taves has the offensive side that McDonough doesn't.
So that's Hedman, Makar, whatever 1 and 2. Then to me it's Taves. Then it's McDonough.
So how evenly matched are these teams on defense when you have a Taves against McDonough and then you go into a Byram against a Chernak or a Manson against a Sergachev?
That's where your separation is.
So your top 4, each team has a clear-cut top 4.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be Taves and Makar, I think, is the best pair. It's certainly the best individual pairing, but that's because John Cooper rotates his pairings a lot. If you go and you look at the usage, Victor Hedman's third in 5v5 ice
actual
time.
TOI, yeah.
At 5v5 ice time, he's third on Tampa Bay, behind Sergachev, behind McDonough.
Yep.
Didn't expect that when I was going through some of this, so it's a little interesting, but it's just the way that they can move those guys around, and Chernak plays with everybody. He'll play with when they're in a more defensive situation and they want to lock it down, it's McDonough and Chernak. But they will rotate those guys and play them all together. Sergachev's odd because his most common D partner is Cal Foote.
So he gets dropped down and switched around a little bit.
Yeah, he plays a ton at 5v5, but his most common partner is Cal Foote, who has way less ice time than that top 4. And then in Colorado's side, you have Byram and Johnson, who have established themselves as a legit. They've been unbelievably good in this postseason
together,
specifically together. But in that last series, you saw more and more opportunity for let's move Devon Taves away. We'll sneak Byram and Makar out there in offensive
did it more than a few
situations.
times, yeah.
And then we will. They put Taves out there for. Hey, how are we gonna survive 9 minutes of Jack Johnson? This is how. We're gonna put him with Devon Taves. We're gonna put him with Cale Makar. We're gonna sneak him out there with a couple of guys, but we're not gonna roll him out there next to Josh Manson.
And just bury yourselves, yeah.
Because if you look at what happened with Johnson and Jack Johnson and Josh Manson together, when they were out there as a third pairing, it went very poorly. Josh Manson away from Jack Johnson with anybody else, solid. With Sam Girard, great.
But
that's not the option anymore, so you're trying to make do.
Yep.
It's going to be the top fours, I think, are going to... When you look at those top fours, theirs is much bigger. It's much more physical. It's much meaner. It's much tougher to play against in the traditional sense. Colorado's is way more dynamic, way more offensively inclined. Even a guy like Josh Manson. Josh Manson has 6 points in this postseason.
Right.
Like, that guy got to Colorado, saw how the Avs play, and was like, I've waited my whole life for this moment. Like, 7 years in the NHL with the Ducks, where they just had him saddled next to
stand at the
Hampus
blue line,
Lindholm or Cam Fowler, and just very classic defensive defenseman stuff. The Avs are like, this is how we want to play. Go do it. And Josh Manson's like, yes, finally, I get to skate. I get to live. I get to be free. He gets to be the peacock. And he's been totally different, a totally different guy than he was in Anaheim, because he gets to do some of that. Sometimes it doesn't go great. Like, sometimes it doesn't go great because he makes questionable decisions. He's also had weirdly bad luck. Like, do you see that breakout where he's flying up the center of the ice and a broken stick?
Yeah, I know exactly
what breaks it up, and you're like, dude, only to Josh Manson.
And was it game 1 of the Western Conference Final where he was like a -4 on a night where they scored 8 goals? That one was like, he had a bad game. Like he made some, no doubt,
definitely.
But he also, when you go back and watch some of that, there is a few things like what you're talking about there, where it's like, this guy was having a bad night, and then a few things just completely out of his control just compounded that. And you even saw the look on his face. I think it was the one that went off his stick right into the slot, where he just he looked up like, there's nothing I can do. Yeah. There is now, whether I turn it around, even if I start playing well, this is just not my night. So he's had some of that shit.
Well, and that,
he was bad that night.
It's especially bad. The one that kills me was the Zach Hyman goal on the back door, where he ties up the stick and Zach Hyman doesn't even
redirects in anyway.
And it's super slow motion happening because he got just enough of the stick to keep him from like a full swing at it, but not enough to prevent the contact. And Kemper just does not get across quickly, and you're just like, this is the worst luck for him.
I do want to go to Meghan here. Who has the advantage on the defensive side in this series? AJ set it up. One side more offensively inclined, one side bigger, more physical. Who do you lean on?
I still look to the Avalanche having the edge in this series, just because of the pace that they play overall. I think this is going to be an offensively driven series that's going to rely on goals being scored, especially with Tampa having such excellent goaltending. They're going to be looking to that coming from every area, including the D-core. And that is an area, too, that the Avs really separate themselves from Tampa's defense is offensively. It's because the Avs D-core also executes defensively. They're not. This isn't necessarily an area that they fall short in. So by comparison, they're just running away with offense within their D-core, especially from the top pairing down. Even the second, third pairing can find a little bit of offense at points because of how they run their defense.
So you said something there. You said that the pace that they play with, that is going to be something so interesting to watch in this series.
Yep.
Tampa Bay, they've gotten here 3 years in a row because they like to slow it down, make you earn it, sludge you through the neutral zone, play really heavy on the wall. The Avs are fine doing that. The Avs are fine slowing their game down a little bit, but the Avs version of slow is still way faster than anything that Tampa has had to do or deal with. And that's going to be the word. When you said pace, that is the word that I think will be the defining factor of this series.
And for the last couple of years,
the right word there.
For the last couple of years, people have looked at Tampa and said, you know what? They can kind of play any style. They'll beat you at whatever you play. And Colorado has very much become that team this 100%. Year, where they say, throw us in a hockey game, we'll do whatever.
Well, and both of these teams almost even kind of they Jared Bednar talks about, we like to get to our game, but they're almost even fine letting you that Edmonton series. Every single one of those games is cool, you guys set the pace and we'll beat you at it. Edmonton winning a game 2.
Really uncomfortable, frenetic pace. I'm actually looking forward to one I'm a little more comfortable with. It's a little slower.
But game 2 of Edmonton, they shook up the lines. They changed the way their forwards played. It wasn't as much north-south, and the Avs just swallowed them up. Mm-hmm. Now, that's partially because Edmonton isn't equipped to play anything other than north-south
As soon
hockey.
as Edmonton tried to say, okay, we're also going to make defensive adjustments and we're going to try and gear this down, the Avs were like, we're way better at this than you. And Edmonton was like, just kidding, we're going to open this back up and we're going to try and skate.
Right.
This is we have to score 6 goals a game to win in the postseason.
Right. And St. Louis tried to gear it down, play real heavy.
Did it once.
They did it. They were all right. And, they did okay. But even then, when they tried to do that as the series went on a little bit longer, the Avs they play with too much pace. And they play with too much pace and too much speed on all 4 lines. And that's where I think it becomes a problem.
I think that's why Toronto gave Tampa such an intense first round, too, is Toronto plays a very fast-paced game. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's going to be something that the Avs have an advantage in. Because
the Avs do have, to your point from a minute ago, they have that defensive side that Toronto's not bad defensively.
Yeah, it's a good group, but there's just... There's no defensive pairing that Tampa Bay they have not handled a Taves and Makar.
Nobody honestly, I think if you're picking a Canadian Olympic team now at the end of the season, is there any realm even fathomable that it's not Taves and Makar as your 1-2 on Team Canada?
I mean, I think that's our opinion.
It's a beautiful offseason show.
I would be really...
It's a beautiful
I would be
offseason
fascinated to know how Hockey Canada feels about it, because I could see them being like, we'll do no news. And you're like, yeah, what about it?
but I guess the fact that that's even a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, to your point, like, the NHL hasn't seen a pairing like this in a long time that has 2 players, I don't necessarily maybe want to say equally as dynamic, but that have those elements.
Is third in postseason scoring.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
From defensemen. So, we don't talk about it as much, like the offense that he produces, but he also had 50 some odd points this year, 57 points.
I mean, it's a pairing with 2 guys that are going to finish top 10 in the Norris.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 guys top 5.
And Devon Taves would get more votes if he wasn't playing next to Cale Makar.
Yeah.
But it's the combination of the two, because in Toronto they have that high end, they have the high octane offense, but they didn't quite have the defensive chops to match.
Right.
And in Colorado, you have Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. You have the same caliber of high octane, high end offensive skill.
You replace Morgan Riley with Cale Makar.
Right. You replace Jake Muzzin and TJ Brody with Taves and Makar.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to say there, and then you get through all of that, and then you get to that last line, because I think forwards, they can match up pretty well. It's going to be mostly style. Defense, I think, matches up pretty well. They just do it differently.
Yep.
I don't know which one is better. The Avs defense is no doubt more dynamic, but it's not like Tampa Bay can't produce offense.
Right.
How did they just win Game 6?
Yeah, that's not a team that struggles to score. And the one thing that we haven't really mentioned,
which we will get to immediately after Evoca TV.
Yep.
evoca.tv. Go over there, use code DNVR. You get television for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, and only $25 a month after that, including Altitude, of course. You also have AT&T Sports Network, but more importantly for the immediate, you get the national channels. Cup finals are on ABC, so you can watch that on Evoca TV. Go jump on it right now if you're in the Denver greater area. It hooks you up. It sets you up with Altitude for next season. It gives you the Rockies.
It gives you the DNVR channel.
It gives you the DNVR channel. You could be watching us live right now on your television through Evoca TV if you wanted. So,
all of our other shows are watch-alongs for the Stanley Cup Final if you don't want to listen to the national broadcast.
Yep, we got you covered. So jump on that. We are also brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. We hope you'll join us down at the bar for some watch parties of the finals too, where we have 8 different kinds on tap. You can, of course, get it at your local liquor store. There's also still time, at least for Game 2. You can still nominate someone for the Breckenridge Brewery Community Stars to win some tickets to the Cup Finals game. We were talking about the cost of tickets earlier. Not cheap. Free is pretty good. Free is a pretty good price for tickets. So if you think someone deserves it,
The number of things that I have said yes to in my life because they were free.
most things.
Yeah, like some of the stuff where I look back and I'm like, definitely would not have done that if I had to pay money for it. Stanley Cup final game is not on that list. I would pay money to go to one of those.
for that.
To get it for free is just like even better.
Yep. So go to brickbrew.com, check out all their stuff. They have amazing
I have something
merch,
completely unrelated from Cup final stuff. It's hockey related, but
Oh,
keep going.
now we're done.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
What's the Bruce Cassidy, Jack Eichel connection?
Oh, I don't know. I would have to like dig through their history.
Because there's a bunch of people like, oh, Jack Eichel and Bruce Cassidy finally, now with Vegas. Yeah, I don't know. I just saw like 4 different people say something
Well,
about
yeah, I don't know.
Eichel and Bruce Cassidy. So I didn't know.
I
don't
need.
know
Can the coaching carousel like wait 2 weeks, please? Don't sign everyone in the middle of these finals.
Did you see one of my favorites? Z sent this to me that there's a local brewery in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
that
free
has
beer for life for
free
Trotz.
beer for life for Barry Trotz if he takes the Jets
Yeah.
job.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, I guess if he likes that beer, like you got to
If
at
it
least
works,
say,
it
yeah.
works,
like,
yeah.
At least take it into consideration. Yeah.
all right, I'll do it for a year.
Yeah. 1 year.
Get my free beer for life, and then go and do something else.
All right. Third period of the preview of the Cup Finals here from DNVR. Let's talk about the goaltending. We got to go there. Obviously, Edge has to be to Tampa Bay.
Sure. I mean, Andrei Vasilevsky is Andrei Vasilevsky. He's in the midst of a Hall of Fame career. He's in the midst of building the kind of resume that ends up with us talking about him as a top 5 goaltender in NHL history.
Yeah.
That's just where he's headed right now. He's right in the heart of that damn thing. This isn't John Gibson hoping and praying that he'll be good after years of being shitty. This is the real thing. Every year in, year out. Now, he's playing behind a great defensive team in front of him. Sure, that helps. But how many times? I mean, you saw Game 4 against Florida.
Yep.
They get outshot 2-1.
And he just holds
And
it
he's
down.
just like,
Yep.
Well, dude, it's
All good.
it's the potential elimination game record for me, where
Yeah.
where Tampa has had a chance.
Don't let him get that far.
If
has
they get
had
to
a
3,
chance
it's over.
to eliminate an opponent in his last 8 games. He's 8-0, and he's given up 2 goals
On like 240 shots or
Like,
something
it's-
insane. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, he's a monster. He's a monster. It's funny. People feel like, oh, well, you just shoot high blocker on him,
Dude, someone said
and it's like,
today.
you know what every NHL goaltender is vulnerable to? Great shots.
Yeah.
And especially if they're coming cross crease.
Yep.
Like, and he's got to move laterally, and he's got to try and get over there. And a guy like Zibanejad is the one that's firing
just rip it
one-timers.
bar down. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, this is tough. Like, Vasilevsky is the final boss. I said this on the PDO cast, but it's like you get to the final boss, you kill the final boss, and then his HP bar fills up 6 times. He goes into a different form, and you got to do it all over again.
Welcome to phase 2.
That's
Yeah.
Vasilevsky. You get through Tampa Bay. You break through. You create scoring chances, high danger chances. And there's no guarantee it gets you a damn thing.
Right.
Because Vasi is back there just waiting to ruin your life.
And dude, there's just a calmness to the way he plays.
He's never out of control. He's the best combination of size and athleticism the NHL has ever seen. I will die by that.
Well, dude, I brought it up on a podcast a couple months ago. Hannah was watching. It was a regular season Tampa Bay. You offered me $10 million. I couldn't tell you which one. But we were watching, and she pointed out, she goes, whoa, that goalie's huge. And I was like, yeah, Andrei Vasilevsky, whatever. Whoa, how does a guy like that move that well? Because I told her how tall he was. And she's like, how does a guy move like that? And I was like, Hannah, that is something everyone in the hockey world has been trying to figure out for like 7 years now. How does this freak move like this? Like honestly, and I don't mean freak in a bad way. Like,
Yeah.
where do you get that combination of size
yeah.
and mobility?
We talk about Cale Makar not being of Earth.
Right.
Vasi is the goalie version of that.
Yeah,
Where you're just like, what the hell, dude?
Defensemen come from Venus, goalies come from Mars. Is that where we're at with this one?
And
He's
I don't know where McDavid comes from.
A different solar system
comes
on that
from-
one.
a place where everything's only black and
He's
white.
a robot. Confirmed.
Yeah. They're only allowed to decorate things in black and white wherever Connor McDavid is from.
I'm saying he comes
Monochrome
from the factory.
only. Yeah.
Tough week for Connor McDavid.
It was when he turns around and locks eyes with the camera and goes, "Oh shit!" I was
Yeah.
like, "Ooh." If you wouldn't have said, "Oh shit," you could have talked your way out of this. But like, rule 1 of getting caught: don't act like you're caught. Not just in relationships, just
In general.
in general. You told me I couldn't have one of these cookies. I thought everyone could have one of these
That's
cookies.
weird. There's no sinuses.
Yeah,
I can't have this.
I didn't see anything that said. I actually was telling a story the other day. I was like, they didn't explicitly tell us not to do it. And it's like, that's just,
That's the whole premise of Air Bud, right? ain't no rule a dog can't play basketball.
Show me where it says that. Yeah. When you're caught,
right.
don't act like you're caught. There it is.
Megan, how many knives do we need to give Darcy Kemper to keep up with Andrei Vasilevsky?
I don't know. See, if it comes to him needing knives, that means that Darcy actually played well and the Avalanche team in front of him didn't. And so I would prefer he has no knives. Because that means
We're
Darcy
looking for a
Kemper
no-knife final here.
plays really well and the Avs play really well in front of him.
Someone just fall.
Okay.
It's just Eric.
0 knife final. Sounds
Zero
good
knife
to me.
finals. Vassy might get a knife. He might deserve a knife.
There you go. Tampa can let Vassy down. I'm here for it. First of all expectations. Darcy said he's 100%. He's going to start game 1.
Yeah.
I would say he's gonna start game 1. This hasn't been made official.
No.
Jared Bednar loves this. This is his favorite part of the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Because he gets to be all like, I'm gonna tell you shit.
Yeah. No, I
Very
would be legitimately surprised if they went with Francouz tomorrow. And I don't even really think that you're entering into like tandem territory. Where if Kemper has like a bad game, I don't think they're going to be looking to Francouz. I think if Kemper can't play, I feel pretty confident about that. I think if he puts together like back-to-back brutal games, maybe. But I just the way that Jared Bednar likes to operate, the way that Joe Sakic likes to operate, I think they're going to give their trust to Kemper because like you have to have that at this point. If there's anything 50-50 in your mind going into the Cup final, you've already lost.
One, not like the point of it, but also you get to find out if Darcy's that guy.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
He's rolling into free agency here. You're gonna feel. Look, if he goes head to head against Vasi in a Cup final and he wins that thing,
Back up the dump truck,
you're
baby.
totally cool being like, we will pay you.
Yeah.
If he goes out and he loses that job to Francouz,
He's going to have a hard time finding a job
then I don't think he'll have a hard time finding a job.
In Colorado.
with a contender.
But the Avs, yeah, there you go. Buffalo will be like, here you go.
Right.
And he'll be
Buffalo,
like,
yeah.
cool money, and my life sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
But like they get to find out if Darcy is that dude or not, and you don't feel like he's really had a fair go of it this postseason, because game 3 of the first round he gets the eye injury, he misses the next 2 games. Frankie closes out Nashville, dope, and then St. Louis, like you never really felt like Kemper was Kemper.
Yeah.
And then you come to find out at the start of the Oilers series, he's battling these problems. Can't see the puck. He pulls himself out of a game after giving up just an absolute and unacceptable goal. That third goal that he gave up.
Yep.
The rebound, the Derek Ryan shot that hits him in the chest.
Yep,
the puck
yep,
sits
yep,
next
yep,
to his
yep,
foot.
yep.
Yeah, unacceptable. He can't see the puck. But you also you think, okay, well, how long has he been battling this? Because you remember the St. Louis series. He couldn't stop anything cleanly.
Yep.
Everything was a rebound. And that was the starkest contrast to Frankie. And all of it made Frankie look like a straight up vacuum cleaner of pucks, because he just sucked them all up and then held them. And if you've been familiar with Pavel Francouz's
not who he is at
whole career, you have never thought, boy, this guy's rebound control is great.
It's fantastic.
But
Well,
it looked great because Kemper hadn't not given up a rebound on any shot on goal in 6 games.
Well, and it was such a contrast to what we had kind of gotten used to from Darcy throughout the regular season.
It was the exact opposite.
And we've talked about it on this show so many times where you can just see it in Kemper's game. He's calm, he's collected, he's not busy. He's making himself big, he's swallowing pucks.
Yeah.
And it was actually what ended up being the Josh Manson save on Jordan Kyrou in game 6 against the Blues. That was the first time I was like, whoa, what's going? Just like, it was just the way that Kemper,
out of control.
right? He was just out of control when the puck went from, if you're looking at the net, right to left.
Yeah.
And then when it went back from left to right, it was over committing on both, sliding on his side. It was
Dude, he was ready to take the face off. Like,
and I just remember sitting there looking at that like, there's something, again, like what we were talking about with Mikko and with Kucherov, it's like, there's something wrong here. This isn't just him like, jitters of the big moment. It's like, that's a play that of all the Darcy Kemper footage we watched before the season, all the Darcy Kemper we watched in person, I've never once seen him do that.
When you see Kemper at his absolute best, his puck tracking rocks.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's reading the play. He picks up the puck, and it's why he's ultra aggressive, diving on him when it's right in front of him. Like, so his rebound control's kind of always been bad, but it's him not knowing where the puck is going when it hits him. That was the thing that we hadn't seen before, where the puck is hitting him, and he's just like, well, I don't know where it is. I sure hope it's close. And he's just looking around, and when you go back and you watch the St. Louis series, look, yes, they get some bullshit goals off of tipped pucks, but you also see some of the other ones. You're like, dude, he's not reading this play. Like the David Perron backdoor power play one-timer where Darcy Kemper's, he's not even in the net.
Right.
And you're like, you go back and you watch it now, knowing what we know, and you're like, can he see this puck?
Yeah.
Right.
Because his puck tracking was so bad. We talked about it during the watch-along when it happened. It was so bad that, like, he's not tracking it. He's not, and you're saying... He's not reading it at all. He's not getting across. He's not putting himself in these positions. That's something that we just were not accustomed to seeing. And so you're wondering, okay, is he truly 100%? Because if he's 100%, you have to get the best out of him. Yeah. Then you've gotten this postseason. You can live with, look, you're 12-2 and you got here.
Well,
so
you'll
here. Just live with it. It's been good enough. The goaltending hasn't been good. It's been good enough.
Yep.
It's been better than what the other team has gotten, and you're fine. You outscored that problem. Now you're against a team with an elite goaltender who erases the mistakes in front of them. That's not something that they've had to deal with. This is a totally different level. Darcy Kemper has to be at his best.
And
has to be.
You mentioned like his puck tracking and all that. That's the other thing that I remember even going back to the bubble series, Colorado, Arizona. And I remember even on TV where you don't get anywhere near the appreciation for what it's like down at ice level. But even on TV, I remember, just certain angles, it's like there's nothing to shoot at.
Yep.
There is no white for you to be aiming for.
It's like this big of a hole, like over his shoulder or something. And he's such a monster that even that is like...
Even that's... Look. Right, nothing. And we saw that at times this year. I remember there were games... again, coming down the stretch, February, whatever, being at games where he was so locked in that from the press box, you're like, there's nothing for these guys to shoot at. And if you get that, or even close to that version of Darcy in the final, it's going to be a phenomenal goaltending duel. But as is the case with Darcy and with everyone, all of this that we've been talking about, all this we're saying, I'm sure we're getting ready to do our predictions, you got to show up. You've got to show up. And you've got to actually put it on the ice. All the stuff we've talked about doesn't. If they weren't to do that, if they were to show up and not have their best game, it wouldn't change anything about what they've done, how they've played, what they've accomplished to this point. But wow, would that be a huge letdown? You got to do what you've been doing for a full season and 3 rounds of the playoffs for 7 more games, up to 7 more games, and you got to win 4 of them. You've got to actually show up and do it. And if they do that, I think the Avs will be in good shape.
I love it. Let's get to the part of the show everyone wants.
Well, we got to talk X Factors because we haven't.
Yeah,
I think
you're
it
right.
can be a pretty quick conversation.
We made the X Factors very easy. You can just throw both of them up.
Yeah.
It's the injured dudes. It's Braden Point and it's Nazem Kadri.
Yep.
And you don't know. Neither side knows really what they're going to get out of the guy, even though both are expected to come into the series at some point.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance the Point plays game 1. I don't think it's happening for Kadri. The earliest I think we might see Kadri is game 2. If the Avs are down 2-0, I would bet everything in the world he plays
in there.
game 3.
Yeah.
But we'll see how. I think some of that might be dictated. Like if they're up 2-0, they maybe give him the extra day or whatever.
Sure.
Who knows? But I do think Point as centers, they're incredibly important because they just help improve your whole depth, and especially in Colorado where there's no Cirelli, there's no guy that can moonlight as your 2C. The way that a Cirelli can in Tampa Bay, Mikko Rantanen getting away with it at 2C has been great, awesome. JT Compher can't hang, in that role. He cannot hang in that role. I hope that that's not their plan, because we've seen time and time again in his career he's just not that guy. Him at 3C it's just you're much better off there.
Were you going to say something about Compher?
Oh, yeah. He's not cut out for 2C. He's the only reason that third line has any offense right now. I really wouldn't want to mess that up either.
Yeah. No, the bottom 6 is... I'm with you there. Mess with that bottom 6 as little as you have to.
That third line for each team is going to be fascinating, because if Point is back, if Point is on that line, obviously that's Point going against Compher. You don't love that matchup. If it's Cirelli, you also don't love that matchup. So it's advantage Tampa Bay kind of no matter what there. But if Point isn't, for some reason he's not back, if he's certainly neither guy will be 100% when they play. So which guy can give you the closest facsimile to
instead
their
of 50?
to their full production, then it's a really big part of this, and I think it's bigger for Colorado than it is Tampa Bay, because they just don't have a Cirelli. There's just no answer there.
Yeah, it's true. And, obviously everything has to play out on the ice. And when these guys get in, you can see Point in game 1 and go, oh, wow, he looks awful.
Yeah.
Or you could see him and be like, wow, he looks really good. And you have to adjust from that point forward.
He's one of the leading postseason goal scorers over the last several years.
Yep.
The guy's a problem.
Yep. It's hilarious because both teams have massive problems just dotted all over their lineup for the other team.
Yeah.
And I saw some people in chat saying it earlier. I've said it before. I really do think this is going to be a great finals, no matter how it goes. I'm expecting some really high-end hockey.
Yeah. I expect every single game to be really competitive.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. Let's get the part of the show that everyone loves and we hate.
Yeah. Absolutely hate it.
Why do you hate it? Why?
I just don't. I would rather just watch the games instead of have people be like, "Oh, well, you said this was going to happen."
Same.
And it's just like, okay.
Don't hate it. Be proud of yourself that you have the balls to put a take out there, and all those people that want to.
I mean, last round I was the aggressive one. I went
you were
4-1, and I
correct.
ended up being
the most correct.
Yeah.
I ended up still not giving the Avs enough credit.
So everyone taking Colorado on this podcast.
Big shock. We weren't going to not.
Right.
I remember last round I was like, look, if Tampa Bay beats the Rangers, I'm taking Tampa Bay in the Cup final.
Well, but
and then you know what's going to happen? I'm not taking Tampa Bay in the Cup final.
But
you guys got to get over it.
You know what I mean, though? I'm with you. We both said the same thing. And it is still one of those things where it's how do you pick against the 2-time Cup favorite?
Yep.
Or Cup champ? Sorry, can you go back to that?
Okay.
Here.
It was Megan and I in 6, AJ in 5, and Jesse in 7.
The reason I did it in 7, I said in our full 16-team playoff preview show, as I said, one of the demons the Avs had to slay was Game 7. Nathan MacKinnon is, I believe, 0-3 in career Game 7s. And so I just said, wouldn't that just be the cap to all this? You get all the way to the end, and you have one last demon to slay, and it's a Game 7 for Nathan MacKinnon. That was why I went 7. You and I talked last night.
As long as he gets the game-winning goal, right? It's all good.
That's the storybook ending, but maybe the best way to slay that demon is just don't play a Game 7.
100%.
They've totally figured it out. They're like, look, if we just don't lose games,
Yeah.
there are no demons.
Well, and I actually went. Someone posted a graphic of the 11 series wins. Do you know the round 1 this year was Tampa's first Game 7 of this 3-year run?
No, it's not. They played
second Game 7
Yeah.
of this 3-year run. Sorry.
I very distinctly remember hoping that my
Islanders.
car does not flood
Yeah.
while listening to the Islanders lose 1-0.
Yep.
God,
yep.
that game was awful.
It was.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I had to listen to it at a rest stop in Nebraska during a flash flood.
Yeah. But still
It's pretty wild.
pretty impressive that
Distinct memory.
11
imagine.
series wins and only twice did it take you the full.
See, they figured it out too.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, so I was going to say,
Just
so I mean,
don't
maybe
play
you don't
Game
have,
seven.
maybe you don't have to
Don't
go
play
through a
Game
Game 7, but
sevens.
I'm taking the Avs. I really do. We joked about it last round, and look, I'm going to put out my power rankings. It's down to 2 teams. Tampa's still going to be 1. From what we said earlier, they are the best team until they're not. Mm-hmm. But this year, the Avs they just seem dialed in. They seem ready.
Somebody in chat asked earlier. Every year we talk about the team of destiny in the postseason. In the last, a team that gets the breaks, the bounces, things just kind of seem to go their way that you can't really explain. You can easily argue it's Colorado this year.
Well, and
They've combined elite talent with good fortune. They've taken advantage of their opportunities. They absolutely belong here.
It kind of reminds me of the Caps from a few years ago, 2018, when they won, where once they beat the Pens, you could just see it. It's like they aren't going to let that go to waste.
Smooth sailing.
Right. That was their big hill. They aren't going to let it go to waste. And Darren Helm scoring that goal with 5 seconds left, it was the same look on the Avs' face. It's the only time, even after they win the Western Conference, Jared Bednar, stone cold.
Dude, Mikko looked like he was going to kill somebody.
Yeah, after they win the Western.
You started to wonder, does Mikko Branton hate doing
Yeah,
media?
yeah.
Does he hate it?
But
It looks so miserable sitting up there.
they scored to win Game 6, and there was just a look like, you're not going to stop us now.
Yeah.
Like we did it. You're not going to stop us now. You know what I mean? Siri wanted to get in on the conversation.
It's
Siri,
Don't.
who's winning the Stanley
so.
Cup?
Siri
Look,
X Factor.
here's the thing about Destiny. I don't believe in it. You make your own.
Sure.
That's all there is to it.
You make your own bounces for
I
sure.
am way too much of a romantic to believe that destiny
Yeah,
isn't a thing.
I was going to say, I wholeheartedly believe you make your own bounces. JT Compher, unbelievable play coming out of the box
Yeah.
to shake Evan Bouchard. And he earned that puck squeaking
hang
through
on.
from his hustle, from his play, strength. That I believe.
If I were to believe in Destiny, I wouldn't use the name Andrei Vasilevsky at all for the rest of the series. I would just refer to him as the Tower.
All right.
God, no kidding. Well, they need that tower to go sideways.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the monument from Tampa Bay that I take is the
The Tower Tarot card.
the Tower Tarot card. We're a long way from that show.
Yep. Ways to go yet.
Megan's very excited for next year's tarot card show.
Oh yeah.
It's just going to be
See,
her.
in the same,
Yeah,
I'll say
she
in the
doesn't.
same
We don't
way
need to
that,
bring anybody in.
in the same way that you called a day off on the one proposed show that we had, I'm calling a day off for that day. I'm out on the tarot cards.
Okay. That was a
I'm sure it will be
there
a
was
fun show for you
there
guys.
was I ended up being way more stressed during that show because I started to feel
AJ had serious regrets.
I started to feel major ownership of what was taking place and all the predictions that were coming out because people were like, AJ, you did this. And I'm like, I did do this.
Okay. Final thoughts on this series, wherever you're at. No. Megan gets to go first.
I was going to say Jesse picks in 7 and we don't get to talk about any of our
No.
other picks.
Nope, that's right.
No.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Well, actually, the reason I didn't choose 7 is because I think if it does go to 7 games, I do think Tampa wins it. And that's why I think the Avs have to do it
How
in
do
6.
you pick against Bassey?
Yeah.
It's because of Vasi, and I have a lot of fear about that. I think it's going to be so competitive. It's going to be really entertaining, and I've never watched the Avs from this position before.
Yeah. You're new here.
Really new.
All right.
We've never watched the Avs from this position before either, where we've been this invested day in, day
True.
out. This started for us in September. I mean, you weren't even working for us yet when we ran into each other in Arizona.
Yeah. Yep.
God, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it is
Doesn't it?
crazy that was the same season.
Dude,
This same
round
season.
1 of this playoffs feels like last year. Like,
Seriously, the horrific tornado dodging drive back from Canada feels like it was 2 years ago.
Well, it's crazy. It's crazy. I told AJ this. Like, you put that message in our group chat. You're like, hey, guys, we're really going to start, talking about draft. And in my head, I was like, the fuck, Rudo? Like, the draft? I was like, we got plenty of time.
Nope.
And then I looked at the calendar. I was like, oh, no, we've got like 20 days.
yeah,
Like,
it's 3 weeks away.
yeah. I was like, no, just kidding. Rudo's spot on.
PHNX
I'm
is
the
pushing
idiot.
their draft show at their bar
Yep.
constantly.
Yeah.
Because, that's a huge thing.
Right.
And it's around the corner.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And
I
we're
think
just like, oh, yeah, draft, huh? Cool. That'll be a thing that happens.
we're less than a month from free agent. Or I actually think, less than a month from free agency.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Already have Val Nichushkin is bailing on Colorado stuff starting.
Oh,
So
boy.
very excited to get into that. That'll be a lot of fun.
I think we're on your final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple, man. Colorado rules and Tampa Bay rules.
Let's go.
I think it's going to be an absolute war of a series.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a team that just won't let this chance get by them. I think that of all the people, this is a weird anecdote for this time, but of all the people that I talked to in the NHL, it was a conversation I had with Brent Seabrook once, because I don't talk to opposing players a ton, but I did early in my career, and I remember asking him about like his view of the Avs and kind of that hunger to win that first one. And he said, like, weirdly, honestly, especially because we had no relationship, where he was like, the first one, it was different. By the third one, it was nice, but we didn't have the same drive to win it as we did the first one. The first one, we were unstoppable. Mm-hmm. The third one, had we lost it, we all would have said, damn, that's such a missed opportunity. That sucks. But you can never regain the same level of fire to win the first one. And you look at the teams that didn't win it over the years and never got back. You look at the Nashvilles, the San Jose's, great teams that get there and just, they don't have it. And I don't think that this team is happy to be here. I think that the team wants what's next.
Yep.
They want that celebration. I think they're determined. They've been serious about this. This is what this whole season has been about. Has been about the next 2 weeks. It's just this. This is the only thing that they care about. This is the only thing they're interested in. They're not worrying about anything other than the game that they have to play in order to get to where they want to get to. There's no more next steps. This is it. This is it. And I think about that Seabrook conversation. This is a team trying to win its third one. Of course they're motivated. Of course they're comfortable in this. But they're going up against a team they're dying to win it.
Desperate.
They don't want to win it. They're dying to win it. They will do anything to win it. And that's why I'm picking the Avs in this.
So you stepped on a lot of the toes of what I was going to say, but really you just made it easier for me because now I just get to shorten what I was going to say. I agree with you 100%, man. I and it's two people in particular. It's Jared Bednar and it's Nathan MacKinnon. There is a look in Nathan MacKinnon's eye when you talk to him right now. I told you downstairs a conversation that I had with someone in Edmonton when the Avs were up 3-0. I said, Nathan MacKinnon needs one more game of help. He needs his teammates to help lift this group into the Cup Finals, and then he's going to take them from there. I just don't think Nathan MacKinnon, it's an unbelievable team on the other side.
Yeah.
Maybe
Tampa is so good.
I mean, this is even if Tampa loses this Cup final, this is as close to a dynasty as we've seen since the 80s, even more so than the Blackhawks.
Yep.
the Blackhawks just fell apart so fast.
Yeah, it was
Right.
done.
You go back again, 2015, the Lightning are in the finals. Then they have, I think,
Regular
Two-
conference final or appearances.
two
yeah.
Game 7 conference finals where they lose. And then they get swept in the first round, and now they've been to 3 straight finals. Like, you are nearing, I guess you're still a couple years away, a decade of greatness and deep playoff runs. It's a huge task. But I do think what you said, we talked near the end of the season. The Avs have nothing to be desperate for. They have to manufacture desperation. They're going to play
manufacture
4 to
nothing
7
right
games of the most desperate hockey. I think, AJ, I think you summed it up perfectly. It's not they want to win. They need to win. They're dying to win.
Yep.
And I think you're going to see guys... I think you're going to see some unbelievable hockey from both sides. I think this is going to be maybe some of the best hockey we've ever seen in the history of Colorado, because I think you have a group that understands that while they haven't gotten to the Cup Finals and lost, they've been through their own versions of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And if there's any team, I was really impressed with Tampa Bay this morning, seeing them up close, the way they conduct themselves and handle their business. The only team that I've seen even close to that is the Avalanche. And I think you have two teams that are going about their business the same way. And I think one team maybe, like you said, this isn't me saying Tampa Bay doesn't want it, but there's a little bit deeper desperation on one side.
Yep.
Look, I believe this version of the Avalanche is the best version of the Avalanche that's ever been constructed.
I agree.
Better than 2001, better
agree.
than last year. I believe this is the best version of this hockey team that there's ever been.
Man, I think this year's Avs would house last year's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was actually going to say maybe the only team that you could have made the argument, which it sucked because they ended up doing nothing.
Here we go.
It's the Paul Kariya team of Solani.
03.
Yeah. Where, just LOL of an offseason.
Yeah, but that team didn't have a coach, and Jared Bednar is the best coach the Avs have ever had.
Well, no, and that's what I'm saying. In that team, on paper, maybe that's the only one that was, roster-wise, just as loaded as this one.
Tell you what, though, this one doesn't get to say they're as good as 2001
unless they do the thing.
Until they do it.
Yep.
So they have to go out and do it. We have a couple super chats here to get to. Thank you very much, you guys. $10 from Banks. Flying from Charlotte and going to game 2, but going to stop by the bar to pregame before. I can't wait to see the bar for the first time. Praying we're 1-0 when I get there. Love y'all and go
Just
Avs.
a quick, in case anybody has missed it, the bar is closed on non-game days, and it opens up 3 hours before puck drop.
Yep.
I would start getting here sometime in that if you can, because the bar has been getting absolutely packed.
If you want to sit, if you want a seat, get here 3 hours before.
Yeah, seriously, for real.
It has been that busy here. So just to give you guys a heads up.
$5 from Cygnus. This is going to be the most electric finals we've seen in the last 20 years. Have your cardiologist on speed dial.
Yeah, it's going to be the first finals that I've watched in a while.
Yeah.
Really?
I caught a game here and there, but I didn't watch wire to wire any of the finals it's been a long time.
The last one I watched all of was Washington.
That was a fun one.
Yeah.
That was a really fun one.
That was a fuck Vegas.
And then $4 from Ryan. For surprise player number 4, I'm with AJ. I pick 5 again.
Ha.
Nailed it.
All right.
What kind of a bar is that? It's one under renovation, my guy.
Yeah. We're redoing the whole thing.
The whole thing.
It'll
It's
be
gonna
even better
completely
next
different.
year. Yeah. So, anyway, I guess that about wraps up an hour and a half long series preview. I think we got everything in.
If you are not satisfied, I have the 2-parter with
Dom. Go
Dom
check it
over
out.
on the PDO cast that you guys can get into. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. Either way, keep it posted right here. Great time to get a DNVR membership. We already mentioned we got a highlight video coming up. We got Jesse breaking down a ton of stuff coming up. We got probably some sort of series preview written style from AJ. We've got
We'll see.
a hype video coming tomorrow. We got you covered on content. Yeah. Thank you for the $1. The very real Peter Worrell. Anyway, we're going to wrap this one up. We appreciate all of y'all a ton. We love you so much.
We'll see you for pregame.
We will see you pregame for game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. We hope to see you there.